Okay, my feminism response. I want to respond to William Bush. He's asking, does feminism matter on the global political scale? If it's a male-dominated area, why should we interject feminism into the mix and make it more complicated, confusing, and frustrating? He believes this matters because if we're adding levels of complication when dealing with countries that don't view women's rights the same way Americans do, and he believes this puts a strain on relationships between international communities. So I kind of see where somewhat coming from, but yes, feminism does matter on a global political scale. Just look at Cynthia Enloe of Ann Tickner's writing about Cynthia Enloe, and section 10.1. You can go right to 265 when she's talking about the role of her own identity post-World War II in Britain. She can never decide where she belonged, a question that frequently arises. Think of all the women that are going to be asked that question, especially all the different wars and civil wars that are going on around the globe. Let's also look at how she wrote about India's liberation after Britain's rule, and she was talking about how feminism took two different approaches, two different strategies. One was dedicated to building national power, the other towards development of basic needs. In both cases, the national power strategy won out. So yes, feminism, especially when it comes to women and their role of power and politics, does matter. Let's go a little bit further. That was page 266 if I didn't say it. This one's a big one, 268. One of the most creative forms feminism has made is to challenge disciplinary boundaries and to bring new issues and voices. Rich empirical case studies using methodologies not normally employed by international relations scholars have shed light on those on the margins, both men and women, whose lives are deeply impacted by global politics and economics. Feminists have successfully demonstrated how the lives of sex workers, domestic servants, home-based workers, and those who work at unremunerated, caring, and reproductive labor are intertwined with global politics and the global economy. They also have suggested that the security of states is sometimes dependent on rendering insecure the lives of certain, often marginalized people, and that the global capitalist economy could not function without unremunerated labor, the majority of which is performed by women. So this is important. And it is important on not just a global scale. It's important on a personal scale, because that also branched out gender studies and also not just the rights of women, but roles of women. But I think that what you're looking at that the world doesn't accept women's rights in a particular light like we do. And you're right, they don't. You definitely will see this in the Middle East, especially with the caliphate. However, if we don't identify, even take a liberalist approach, we can even use the textbooks here, or a constructivist approach at feminism, which is actually, it does exist in other countries, but they're very small and they're suppressed. But if we were to just pull out, then just think about what's going to happen to them. You can make the case that maybe we shouldn't get involved, that we should not get involved in foreign affairs, but America for a long time now has tried to be that beacon of hope and that beacon of lifestyle. So it'd be very undermining to what we stand for if we were to do business with particular countries that treat their women this way, and we have people in our country that started such great feminist movements to just undermine that. It would even be tragic for them to identify as a feminist and to support such treatment of women in other countries. So yes, this is important on the global political scale. Yes, it's important on a personal scale. And if we don't interject, or we don't identify, or we don't try to support certain movements, that's going to be bad. That will come back to haunt you, and you can make a case that maybe we are not the beacon of light that we once were. But if you were trying to argue that, that's a completely different argument. So hopefully I answered your question. Thank you.